Hello and welcome. My name is Timothy J. Miller, and this is episode 4 of the Chronic Pain Survival Guide podcast.
There's pressure on doctors, pressure on doctors to reduce opioid prescriptions. There's pressure on pharmacists to carefully control the dispensing of those drugs. And there's pressure on insurance companies to keep costs down. And the person suffering from severe chronic pain is caught in the middle of that.
Okay, today's episode is going to be a bit different. Due to the amount of audio engineering involved in creating these episodes, not to mention the research, hosting, maintaining a Facebook presence, interviewing chronic pain patients, and more, I may have bit off more than I could chew. In addition, I am still fighting the infection and injury due to my nerve-damaged leg and foot. I was hospitalized in December and again in mid-February. After no progress with my healing, I was finally referred to a wound care clinic. There I learned that the pressure wound on my middle toe was all the way to the bone. A bone sample was even taken, and I am waiting on the results of the culture. My journey to be healed and past this mess started over a year ago, and sadly, it is far from over. Having said that, I am not giving up on this podcast. This has been a learning experience for me, and the content will continue to improve with each episode. Moving forward, I'm going to keep each episode in the 30-minute range so they can be listened to in their entirety on a lunch break or during a commute to and from work. The amount of time I must invest in producing each episode will be lightened as well, which will be a great help. There are going to be some big changes and a lot of exciting content to look forward to. Honestly, I was pushing myself too hard to get a wide variety of well-researched content into each single episode. Add into that the production value I demand, and that is a ton of work. Originally, these episodes were also intended to feature a guest interview, which only added to my struggle with time and content management. It was just too much to cram into a single podcast that was released once a week. Therefore, I'm going to start breaking the content up into smaller, snack-sized episodes that will actually be released on a regular basis for a change. As I said before, this is still a learning experience, so I am not ready to commit to a standard release date for each episode in the series yet. But I will create an editorial calendar and will be more comfortable committing to regular release dates. It's just going to take me a little time to get the process dialed in and get my body healed up and free of this relentless infection that keeps landing me in the hospital. I hope you stay with me for the journey. These shorter 30-minute episodes will each be a part of a different series that will have rotating content. The 6 different series will include A History of Discrimination. This multi-part series continues the historical study of the war on drugs, legislators playing doctor, and the chronic pain stigma in this country. This medical, cultural, and societal intensive will help us understand what we face today, why, and how we can fight for better care, greater understanding, and the empathy we all deserve as chronic pain patients. Series 2, In Their Own Words. This series is fairly self-explanatory. Here we will listen to the stories of actual pain patients, in their own words, during intimate one-on-one interviews. We will hear stories of struggle, tragedy, and triumph in this multi-part series. Often, a patient's story will spread over several episodes. We will also examine the diseases or conditions that the patients are forced to deal with, what treatments or medications they have tried in the past, and what has actually helped with the pain, if anything. I also have commitments for interviews from several spouses of pain patients. It's important to tell their story too, because the loved ones of chronic pain patients are often more depressed than the patients themselves. From my perspective, it is easier to deal with the pain and loss than to watch someone I loved go through even a tenth of what I have to endure on a daily basis. A Diet of Pain. Here we take a look at smart food choices and nutritional information specifically tailored for chronic pain patients. Many of you do not know this, but I'm a published food writer and food photographer. I have worked hand in hand with James Beard award-winning chefs and have also published several of my own recipes in major magazines and other publications. This ongoing series will study the science behind nutritional choices and discuss the chronic pain conditions that benefit best from each nutritional option discussed. Episodes will also look at nutritional supplements and feature delicious and easy-to-prepare recipes that can be found on social media and the Chronic Pain Survival Guide website that is now being developed. Rotating segment number 4. In the news. Each episode in this ongoing series will take a critical look at trending news stories that relate to chronic pain. Breaking pain. This multi-part series will cover breaking research into managing chronic pain, new medication, technological advances, and more breaking news that chronic pain patients will find useful. These episodes will also feature interviews with pain management specialists, researchers, college professors, CEOs of medical device companies, and many others. The 6th and final series is titled A Life of Pain. This series will actually cover my backstory, and as the episodes progress, they will help listeners understand why I am so passionate about chronic pain management, chronic pain patient civil and human rights, and the chronic pain stigma in our nation's culture. The third-person account will begin with the events that led to my 45-day coma over 24 years ago, and cover decades of loss, pain, struggle, and a refusal to let extremely severe pain win until we arrive at present day. The 6 multi-part series that I just listed will rotate from episode to episode, and they will be the main content of the Chronic Pain Survival Guide podcast moving forward. There are also a few bonus series in the works. The bonus series that I am truly looking forward to is titled Playing Doctor. In this multi-part bonus series, I conduct true investigative journalism and introduce hard-hitting interviews with individuals and groups who are not only shaping laws in this country, but directly impacting the experience between doctors and chronic pain patients in the exam room. Well, the series will definitely feature true investigative journalism, and we will see how many groups or individuals are willing to speak with me on the record, because I do not plan on holding any punches. I'm not afraid to call a duck, and honestly, I can't wait to get my hands on those who believe they have the right to shape the laws and chronic pain management in this great nation of ours despite having no medical background, much less an ounce of pain management experience. Okay, so moving on. The remainder of today's content will feature the introductory episode to the series A Life of Pain, the series covering my backstory. And listeners will also hear a teaser for episode 5, featuring the series In Their Own Words, which features the first guest interview on the Chronic Pain Survival Guide podcast. Before we move on to the main content of today's episode, there's some quick housekeeping to do. Visit us on social media. On Facebook at facebook.com/The Chronic Pain Survival Guide. On Twitter at A Chronic Pain Pod. And look, I know that I'm not nearly as active on Twitter as I need to be. Nevertheless, I'm working on getting my Twitter account functioning as it should be, and also gaining a presence on Instagram and other social media platforms. Chronic pain patients are individual as their fingerprints, and I need as big of a footprint on social media as possible. Listeners can also find us on Spreaker.com. Visit Spreaker.com and search the site's podcasts for the keywords chronic pain. For transcripts of every episode of the Chronic Pain Survival Guide podcast, including links to all sources of information used, music licensing information, and more, visit us on Patreon at patreon.com/chronic pain. Up next, the introductory episode to the multi-part series, A Life of Pain. A Life of Pain, Part 1. Please note, to protect multiple victims' privacy, their names will be changed in this recount of events. It was approximately 1 a.m. on April 9th, 1995. During the first few hours of this rather nondescript Sunday morning in mid-spring, several lives were changed forever. A 1989 GMC Sonoma headed eastbound in the fast lane on Highway I-70 in Denver, Colorado. The mid-sized truck was followed closely by an older model blue sedan. After a short period of time, the driver of the sedan flashed his brights a few times to signal that he wanted to pass. Instead of moving over to the middle lane on the right, the 20-year-old behind the wheel of the GMC gunned it. The sedan followed suit, and the vehicle remained within a few feet of the truck's bumper. Brights continued to flash in the truck's rear-view mirror, increasing the intensity of the fray. What should have been a standard maneuver on the highway, moving over to allow a faster vehicle to pass, quickly escalated into a deadly pissing match. Several lives hung in the balance, including other commuters on the highway that morning. Within a few quick seconds, the two vehicles were locked in a deadly game of cat and mouse, and one of them was about to lose. Big time. The two ticking time bombs flew down the highway at speeds in excess of 100 miles per hour. Both drivers were fueled by road rage, stupidity, and selfishness behind the wheel. Small-minded men, and even women, become giants when surrounded by thousands of pounds of metal, plastic, and rubber. Well, they become giants in their own minds, that is. This was a common occurrence on the city streets and highways in Metro Denver in 1995. In fact, road rage is a much worse problem nowadays, as many out-of-control commuters resort to gunplay in addition to using their vehicle as a weapon. Finally, the driver of the sedan saw his opportunity. He jumped into the middle lane, slammed the gas pedal into the floorboard, and quickly passed the GMC on the right. To add to the aggression, the sedan then cut the truck off, narrowly missing the GMC's front bumper as it crossed back into the fast lane. The move launched the driver of the work truck into a full-blown, blind rage. A deadly temper tantrum that was urged on by his girlfriend in the passenger seat. In the bed of the GMC, there were 4 additional passengers who were high school friends of the driver. The 6 were headed home after a night of dancing to 9 Inch Nails, KMFDM, Skinny Puppy, and other alternative and industrial music at a club in Boulder, Colorado. 4 terrified passengers, protected only by a hardtop that covered the bed of the truck, pounded on the rear window and pleaded with the driver to slow down. Their panicked screams went unnoticed. The young man behind the wheel only saw red by that point. A simple commute home from the club suddenly turned into a senseless display of testosterone on the highway to hell. Thinking he could mimic the sedan's maneuver, the driver of the GMC launched into the right lane and floored the gas pedal. In a flash, he was headed straight toward a wall of taillights. 2 unseen, or at least unnoticed, vehicles, driving at much lower speeds, occupied both the middle and the far right lane. Making things worse, in a truly senseless display of evil, the driver of the sedan slowed to prevent the truck from crossing back over into the fast lane. The young man behind the wheel of the GMC had 2 choices: slam into one of the vehicles ahead of him, or stomp on the brakes and bail even further right into the narrow breakdown lane on the side of the highway. He locked up the truck's brakes, turned the wheel to the right, and screeched toward the breakdown lane on the side of the highway. It all happened in a flash, The combination of heavy braking at high speeds